Okay, thank you so much for everyone for being here. My name is Chantal. I am currently the Ujima Boston Artist Organizing Fellow, and this is the third part of my microlearning pod series called Shantel's World. Okay, awesome. So tonight we are going to be engaging in a self-reflective process, interpreting imagery and text that I've provided for you. And I have a bit of a itinerary just so y'all will know what's going on. So we had our icebreaker, which was asking, what are you grateful for? I'm just going to do a brief artist talk to touch on some of the aspects of my work that are important. And then we'll do 2 activities and then close. Alrighty, so as you know, my name is Chantal. I'm a visual artist, and I work in photography, printmaking, drawing, and painting. And I create work that recontextualizes how Black bodies have been depicted in the history of painting and use color and body language symbolically to evoke emotional tonality in my subject matter. I often create paintings of people I know in moments of vulnerability and introspection to reveal the beautiful, complex inner realities of Black life. In recent work, I've incorporated my own body into my paintings to create a space of reasoning and exploring intersections of race, gender, religion, and identity. Working in this way reinforces love, care, and patience towards the Black body through devotion to representing our individual and collective experiences. For me, the artwork fulfills the desire for a sense of belonging while meeting a psychological, spiritual, and emotional need to feel deeply valued and connected. I view exhibitions as a transformative space for healing and revelation to take place. I believe in the power of art to create social uplift and change in the world. And these are just some shots of some events in the recent past. On the left is a really special moment of a friend at an event at Second Church in Boston called All the Joy, which was a Christmas gathering. And on the right is a snap of myself talking with a friend at a 2-person solo exhibition that I participated in with Heidi McKenzie called Destabilization, the Color of Our Skin, and that was in Hamilton, Ontario. Okay. So that's just a bit of what I've shared some of my work, and I've gone more in detail in previous workshops, but now I'd like for us to use our own life experiences and use imagery as a way to reflect and interpret what has gone in our life. And so I'll share pictures I've taken and ask you to interpret how it mirrors events in your life through written words. Looking outward to see within, we will draw inspiration from nature and reflect on stages of life we are in or coming out of. And so I like to go on walks outside, and these are some pictures that I took of during my walk in my neighborhood here in Markham, Ontario. And this week I just felt led to start taking photos, and I felt like this could inspire the talk for tonight. And so ideally we would have been in breakout groups, but I think it's okay for us to just work on our own independently and then come back together. And so with the pen or pencil and paper that you have, look at the images and respond and reflect how they relate to aspects of your life. And so some of the prompts that I have are, do not despise small beginnings. What is something budding in your life that was recently planted? What is something you're dealing with right now that feels entangled? What aspects of life is springing forth and coming alive? Are you in a season of abundance? What aspect of life feels neglected, and what do you need to bring it into alignment? And perhaps you've planted many seeds and you are waiting for the harvest ahead within sight. So reflect on this labor and how it informs your life today. And so here are the images again. And I'm just going to give us some minutes to just have this quiet time, like see it as like a journal entry for yourself. And then we'll come back together. And if you want me to toggle between the prompts, the questions, and the images, just let me know. I'll play some music and we can just get this going. Sounds good? Okay. Hi, Lucy. Welcome to the space. We're just starting our first activity where we are looking at these images I've taken during my walk, and we are responding and reflecting how does it speak to aspects of our life. And I have some prompts here as questions that you can ask yourself. So you're supposed to see it as a journal entry if you'd like, and then we're going to come together again and share. So I'll just get that going. All right. How was that for folks? Good. Yeah. I can't see everybody. But I hope that was yeah, a good activity practice for you to just have that time for yourself. And I'd love for us to share some things that came up. You don't have to share the super personal ones that you don't want to, but the hope is that through this process of interpreting, we can impart wisdom to one another. And so I'll start and say that something that's budding in me as of late is more courage, more confidence, especially in public speaking. Thank you, Ujima, for all these opportunities for me to combat this fear, and becoming a leader. It's something I'm identifying and feeling like more grace in. And areas of my life that maybe are being neglected, or like quality sleep, eating more balanced meals. And so I've also like jotted down like ways that I can nurture those areas. And I was thinking the flower on the bottom left was like an area that needed some nurturing. And something that I'm experiencing the harvest of in life right now is friendship. So those are my tidbits, and I'd love to hear from you all. Lise has their hand up. Please share.
Hey, so I wrote something really short. Mind you, I'm in the car, so if I start breaking up, my bad. But thank you for this exercise. I think it was really like helpful and like kind of really what I needed today. So I wrote like a short little poem thing. So I'm just gonna read it to y'all. So it goes, what does the earth do while it waits for its seeds to grow? Does it get big mad and glare at the sky for not raining frequently enough? Does it get all prickly and harsh to discourage animals and humans from disturbing the area? Does it try to nudge the seeds to grow faster so they can come out into the sunlight? Does the earth know how to be okay in liminal spaces? And can it teach me? That's it. And I wrote it from that first, I think it's like the top right. The earth looks kind of still not springy. So that's the one I was thinking about, of like how when I'm waiting for my plants to grow or like my seeds to grow, whatever, whether it's metaphorical seeds or literal seeds, I get very like busybody. Um, so yeah.
Oh, thank you so much. That was so amazing. And I loved how you incorporated the themes of the activity together with the imagery. Thank you, Leaf. Does anyone else want to share?
Hi. So yeah, I just had a little bit of a reflection on something that's budding for me in my life, which is looking at a new career. I've been working in research for a long time, and I'm looking at getting into teaching. And so I was just reflecting a little bit and thinking about how I could be working with children and youth again, and how that could be a bit more fulfilling. And it might be nice to help bring out some of the skills in me that have maybe been a little bit dormant for a while I haven't been working with youth as much. So I was thinking of that image that's at the top left there with the little kind of sapling tree, it looks like. And I was thinking about how those potential experiences are growing within me and how I'll be getting back into working with kids again.
That's beautiful. Thank you. And anyone who wants to share, just feel free to unmute. You don't have to raise your hands. We'll stay here for a little bit longer and then move on.
So I will share my interpretation. Although I can't see the sun shining, yet there seems to be different shades of changing happening within every season or life cycles in nature. Personally, this is a true representation of my life in many ways. Life has never been stagnated. It is ever unfolding as the season of life cycles changes or evolve. Within each life cycles, there are lows, highs, yet lies with beauties to behold. This is reflective of the various different images. There are, I wish you had numbered these images, then I would be able to identify them specifically. But you can recognize some of the images that there are no leaves, and it seemed like winter is approaching, and some of them that spring is about to dawn upon nature, and yet there are those that just captivated with beauty, and the flowers, the white and the pink. And of course, there's one that is shades of dark, as though the sun will never rise. Yeah. So that's it.
Thank you for sharing.
I could share.
Okay, go on. Thank you.
Oh, no. We can keep going. I think we can move forward. It's okay.
No, I wasn't gonna continue. I was waiting.
Oh, okay. Even though you moved the slide forward?
It toggled by accident.
True. Okay. I was gonna say, I really like that, the poetry in that last statement. And then I was gonna say, I was also really resonating with what Desmond was sharing about changes and work. And so, or shifts in career. And so I too have been working in research since grad school. though my background is in theater education. And so recently I've had a really awesome opportunity to like get back into making theater again. And so really resonated with what aspects of your life are springing forth and coming alive. And I just said my identity as like a theater artist and playmaker, because I kind of had like forgotten. And so, and then I said, yeah, it's like those buds in the bottom right-hand corner. And so it's like they're obviously on a more mature plant. But you know, it's like this like new part of, you know, this like pre-existing thing. And we have this tree in the kitchen named Blaze. It's like a palm, and he's probably gone on a decade, you know. And so he's like, but he's growing as much as an actual tree in my house can. And like one of the most exciting parts about observing his growth is that he'll get a new bud that will like ultimately turn into a new branch. But this is like pretty rare, like doesn't happen even every year, you know, might happen every 2 to 3 years or every 2 years, you know, and sometimes like every year, like, but it's like, you know, it's a thing. And so I was thinking about like the new shoot of a branch. But then I also looked at this picture, like the image to the right of the one that you, Shantel, said that represented an area that needs more care. Like the second one on the bottom from the left, the tree with the clover kind of at the base of it. And I just said life and death. And then, so it's like, you know, kind of like leaves drop or plants allocate resources to an area where it is growing, and then other parts are, you know, kind of like dying. Or even in this image, you just like have life and death at the same time. And so for myself, I just wrote, what do you have to give up? How can you accommodate this new thing? And so, and like actually nurture it to maturity so it can, you know, so I can support it. Because obviously my life is full of all of these other things too. So some other things got to die, basically. That's all I'm still thinking, you know, and it's the balance, you know, but the strings are life and death.
Wow, thanks for tying that in there, bringing it into like this cycle of a give and take. In order to receive, you have to let something go as well and make room for that new thing. And as well, I did want to say, Daddy, that I liked your comment about the skies, because it really can be any season that you have cloudy skies, but the fact that there's still growth and taking place. I really like that observation, so thanks for sharing that. Did anybody else want to share before we move on?
Sure. So for me, I want to share from the budding plant is the green plant, the small green plant that's coming out of the ground. And it represents growth and potential. Even though it's small on the ground, I see that it has the ability, if it's nurtured, to grow and to be great. And so that represents for me starting up my website and getting my channel up and running, representing the fact that there's room for growth and the possibility is endless if it's nurtured. The plant that has a little bit of a black, and a little bit of dark area with a branch hanging over. For me, that represents entanglement, or what are you entangled with? I like that there is, even though it has a little bit of a shadow, that little bit of dark area, there's also at the end, toward the end of the branch, is the bright light. And it represents for me in my life that God is the bright light that direct my path, but the entanglement for me come in walking in obedience. And you know, that tree for me looks like if it remains in the same spot without the sunlight, it's not going to grow and be greater. But as you see where it's coming down towards, it looks almost like a water, or like in the background of the plant, it looks like either it's going towards the light. And so if I continue to walk in the light of God and walk in obedience, it doesn't matter how dark your past may be or your history may be, but if you keep on going towards the light, there's hope And I think that plant, as long as it's getting the sunlight, then there's hope for it to grow from darkness and becoming greater. And then for the plant at the bottom with the one little budding, it represents for me something that is springing forth right now. And even though it only has one blossom on it, again, it signifies life and growth and the possibility that spring is coming. And with spring coming, and then we know that with the rain falling, it will only grow and germinate and bring forth much fruit. And it represents something springing forth from my life now is my writing, articles, journals, and books. And just like that plant, you have to start someplace and be disciplined for it to grow and to bring forth much fruit. And it also represents my faith that just like that plant, you want your faith to grow and to grow more. And it ties in with the plant that's on the, it ties in also with the question about what is being, but I think the other plant that has all those buddings that are going on, it represents abundance. And for me, that plant and all those beautiful pinkish color represent the abundance of God's grace for me. That in the same way how that plant produced so many beautiful blossom, it represents for me grace, that God's grace is so much in abundance. In the same way how that plant is blooming in abundance, and it represents that God's grace is always enough, and it's an abundance, it's available when I look at that beautiful plant. And then the last one I have is where the one to the upper right, that tree that seems like it needs some nurturing. It's growing, but it's not fully, almost like a little bit of a dying and needs to get some kind of nourishment and support. But you can see that it's not dead because it's in the earth. There's some greenery there, but it needs some kind of support. And that represents for me an area in my life that neglect, and I think it's his health. That in the same way that plant, I figure, even though the earth beside it is a little bit, you can see that it needs some work. Represent for me some work that I need to do, more intentional work in my life with my health, so it can be better. That's it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. It's so nice to hear how life-giving this activity has been for you, that it's generated so many reflections. And so, yeah, I encourage you all to, when you are out in nature, to have these moments of contemplation for yourself. And for the sake of time, we're gonna shuffle to the next and final activity. Did anyone else want to share? I don't want to slight anyone.
Okay, I can go quickly. All right. So the first question about something that's budding that I recently planted, and I'm looking at the small bud on the screen that's coming up. I had this African violet at home, and for some reason it died. And I missed it so much because each day I wake up, I would look at it and I would admire how beautiful it is. And I don't know what killed it, but I went out and bought another one, and I've just planted it. And it is coming up, and I know it'll bring me a lot of beauty and joy. The other picture that looks very entangled, this big one in the middle, something that you're dealing with that's entangled. And I can say recently we painted our home, and my goodness, there was just a whole bunch of entanglement. Everything was just thrown together. But for some reason, we're being able to work through it, and it takes time. And so when things get tangled up, you have to spend a lot of time, which speaks to the ability to be patient. A life, aspects of life that's springing forth for me. I recently retired, so life is springing forth for me, and so I think it's more as a transition phase. And I would say more or less the picture, on the lower bottom with that a white flower that's semi-fading. So you're kind of fading your regular work life, and you're becoming um, you're springing forth in this new aspect of life, which I really appreciate. And season of abundance, I would say, this plant is called, the pink one is called Magnolia. And so for me, the abundance comes in the form of time, having time to do the things that you really enjoy and look forward to doing at this stage in life. And then the picture on the upper right speaks to aspects of life that's been neglected and we need to pay attention to in order to be more enlightened. For me, it would be more spending more time exercising. I think that's an area that I can continue to work on. And the last thing is, I planted a seed that is waiting for the harvest, and reflecting on the labor and how it informs my life today. I would say our church that we planted some years ago, and how we are at the point of seeing the increase and reaping the harvest. We have seen investment in people's lives, and how their lives have been transformed over time. And it was really encouraging to watch the evolution of the transformation spiritually and otherwise. And so that's it for me. Thank you.
All really good insights. Yes, okay, so let's move forward. Just going to shift to Howard Thurman. So just some info on Howard Thurman, because we're going to be reading an excerpt from one of his texts and responding to it with drawing. And so I'll just give you a little bio about him and why he's so relevant to tonight. Washington Thurman was an American author, philosopher, theologian, mystic, and educator. As a prominent religious and spiritual figure, he played a leading role in shaping the ideological foundation for many social justice movements and organizations of the 20th century. He was a spiritual mentor to Martin Luther King Jr. and taught the importance of nonviolent thinking and action, and understanding the spirit through experience over religious intellect. And so I bring him up today in part because his writing has resonated with me over the years in his way of being, in terms of acknowledging spirit through experience as opposed to like how you're reasoning with it. And that's how I view my art practice as well. I view it as intimate as a spiritual relationship. And so as we enter into his text, I'd love for you all to engage with these senses and in your time of reflection. And so the text is from his book called Meditations of the Heart, An Island of Peace with One Soul. And I'm just wondering, is the bar at the top blocking your view of the text? Is it
a little bit?
Okay. Just minimized my.
Now it's not. Now it's not. If you like don't hover over it or something, I think it's fine.
I moved it down. So it's okay? Okay. But I can't see you all, so that's just the compromise. It's all right. So it's called Meditations of the Heart, An Island of Peace within One Soul. And I'll just read it out loud for you all. A beautiful and significant phrase, island of peace within one's own soul. The individual lives his life in the midst of a wide variety of stresses and strains. There are many tasks in which he is engaged that are not meaningful to him, even though they are important in secondary ways. There are many responsibilities that are his by virtue of training or family or position. Again and again, decisions must be made as to small and large matters. Each one involves him in devious ways. No one is ever free from the peculiar pressures of his own life. Each one has to deal with the evil aspects of life, with injustices inflicted upon him and injustices which he wittingly or unwittingly inflicts upon others. We are all of us deeply involved in the throes of our own weaknesses and strengths, expressed often in the profoundest conflicts within our own souls. The only hope for surcease, the only possibility of stability for the person, is to establish an island of peace within one's own soul. Here one brings for review the purposes and dreams to which one's life is tied. This is the place where there is no pretense, no dishonesty, no adulteration. What passes over the threshold is Simon pure. What one really thinks and feels about one's own life stands revealed. What one really thinks and feels about other people, far and near, is seen within every nuance honestly labeled. Love is love, hate is hate, fear is fear. Well within the island is the temple where God dwells, not the God of the creed, the church, the family, but the God of one's heart. Into his presence, one comes with all of one's problems and faces his scrutiny. What a man is, what his plans are, what this authentic point is, where his life goes, all is available to him in presence. How foolish it is, how terrible, if you have not found your island of peace within your own soul. It means that you are living without the discovery of your true home. I'm gonna just let you sit with that for a moment. And we'll use this text as inspiration with the words and reflect on how we can cultivate this meditative practice in our own lives. In silence, close your eyes and visualize what this reality is for you. When you're ready, begin to describe it using 3 to 7 words. It doesn't have to be in sentence format, just words that you associate with that state. We will respond to the words with a drawing. Begin. And I will toggle back to the previous screen so you can review it in your own pace, at your own pace. Hey everyone, how are we doing? I want to be mindful of time. It is just past 8:30 now. And we started a little bit late, so we'll just go and share for maybe about 5 to 6 minutes to be fair. And I am happy to share. To start, I found this activity very challenging. I did not know what to draw or how I feel about people today. That's a part of my heart. In the broad scheme, I feel distant and distorted in how I'm understanding people through technology. And I'll say that my island of peace is being in the mountains, spending quality time with people that I care about. And the mountains signify reaching new heights. And then I also wrote good health for everyone and no suffering. And this is my little drawing. Mountains, and this is my family. So folks, feel encouraged to share and no need to raise hands, just go for it.
My 6 words. My chair, near window, lamp overhead. And so I think that's literal in that one of the space where I often will like sit and reflect and meditate on God's word and pray is a chair near the window. And I also have moved quite a bit recently, and I noticed that that's a recurring way that I set up my room, and that's sort of a grounding space, is this space that I have, and then the way I spend my time in that space. Yeah, so I guess that feels like my island of peace.
I think it's really powerful that you can picture that space, and that it brings you to like that sense of serenity. Thanks for sharing, Laura. You know, feel encouraged to just go for it. We don't have much time left together.
Yeah, if I may, my island of my soul is, I would say, is in a bliss and very content within its own orbits, yet innocent, and as a result, at times left vulnerable if it does not stays in its own orbits.
Sounds very stoic and like deep, and I'm not surprised. You do remind me of Howard Thurman in a number of ways. Thank you for sharing.
I'll share. Can you hear me? Hey. Well, thank you, Shantel, for bringing us together to do this. So it turns out I only have 5 words, but I'm not going to try and force a 6th word. So those, and they're random: open, drift, grounded, love, learning. And these are the things that exist simultaneously when I feel, you know, the most at peace. And then my drawing, which is, I don't know if, can anyone see this? Wait. And so the logic is, I find, well, I'm an artist, but I find that it takes a while to find that island of peace. Like you don't just, it doesn't just happen. It takes a lot of time. So you have to like meander for a while to adjust. And then in doing that, eventually something happens, like that line. And then you find a rhythm, and then it's sort of variations of that rhythm sort of emanating through the pattern of your life. So anyways, so this is sort of, I tried to actually like let it happen for a second, even though I had the craziest day today, but so I wanted to share that.
Thank you so much, Lucy. I absolutely love where your mind went and how you responded to this activity. It makes me want to respond to this activity that way too, and just let my mind wander. So thank you so much. Anybody else want to share? We have about a minute left.
Okay, I can go. So my island of peace is on a beautiful summer day, sitting in the backyard, reading something that is inspiring or a biography of someone's life, because I love reading. And so this is sort of my creative effort. And if you can see it, with books surrounded with art. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah.
That's blocking the image. You kind of disappearing a bit. Aw, no, we're not able to see.
Maybe Chantel, also, if you stop sharing your screen, the image will be larger. Maybe, and then we can pin her. Or
Okay. Try that again.
oh yeah.
You see it?
No, Miss Eleanor, it's because your background, it like fades into your background, so it disappears.
Yeah, you gotta turn off your background.
Okay, that's all right. It was just a bunch of art and books that surrounds it.
Aw, awesome. Well, thank you. Would anybody want to share before we close off?
I can share. Right? So that's,
Go for it, Stefan.
okay. I have 6 words, and when you find it, you lose it. And I'm going with based on, at least for me, the idea that it's kind of something that should always be there. So it's kind of like when you go searching for it, kind of shouldn't be something that's found, but something that's always with you.
Your audio isn't the clearest. Are you able to change something quickly so we can hear you better? And just say that again.
I don't know.
Are you using earphones?
Yeah, but I'd have to switch. Wait one second, actually, I can do that.
Yeah, that sounds better.
Is that better?
Try talking now, sorry.
Is that better?
Yes.
Okay, so my 5 words were when you find it, you lose it. And that is based on the idea that kind of like when you go out searching for something that it's kind of sort of like when you go through the path of seeking it out, that's kind of the thing that you take joy in. But once you find it, then it kind of takes away from the thing that you found. So it's sort of like the journey is more better than the kind of the goal. So for me, the idea of like having an island of peace would be that it's something that's always there, and it's not something that I have to go and like search out for. And I think when you have to like when you find it, it's sort of something that can be taken away from you. So yeah, my interpretation.
That was really good, Stefan. Thank you so much. It was worth you repeating, so thank you. Did anybody else want to share before we close off? We are well over time. Okay, well, honestly, you all, this has been so lovely. Thank you so much for sharing and partaking with me in this journey that we've gone on together. I hope that, well, I trust that this time of reflection has been generative for you, and I pray that you continue to take these practices into your life beyond our time together. So much thanks and gratitude to Ujima and all of you good folks who have invited me to do this series. I had a great time. I think this was really good. And yeah, I just look forward to seeing you all again in the future. But thank you so much, everybody, and just wishing you a good night. We'll talk again
Thank
soon.
you.
Thanks, Chantel. I'm sorry I missed the part about your work.
So much.